While expecting, every mother dreams of giving birth to a healthy, bouncing child, imagining the life, milestones, and future they will share together. But what happens when that child is born with special needs? For some mothers, the journey can come with unexpected grief, guilt, shame, fear, and questions they never in their life imagining having to answer. Raising a child with special needs can be incredibly challenging, especially for a young mother who may suddenly find herself facing judgment, as well as speculations and even blame from society. Instead of support, mothers can be made to feel as though they did something wrong to cause the disabilities. My guest today is Aisha Jones, who at age 20 had what seemed to be a healthy baby boy until he wasn't. Aisha is going to share the reality of special needs parenting, the emotional journey of raising a child with disabilities, and what that really means. Also, what happens when a mother has to make difficult decisions about her child's care. We're going to talk about motherhood, guilt, sacrifice, assisted living, and what it really means to continue being a caregiver when your child with disabilities suddenly becomes an adult. Welcome, Aisha, Miss Aisha Jones.
Thank you, my Toma.
Yes, Aisha.
All right.
Welcome, Aisha.
Thank you, finally.
Yes.
It's been a long time coming, so yeah, good.
Yeah, we talked about this quite a while ago.
Yes.
But now we're here.
Finally.
So let's start from the beginning. You're here and we're going to talk about a sensitive subject, and it's parenting a child with special needs. So I want you to walk us through while you were expecting your first child. What were your thoughts? What were your expectations?
So I don't think that I have ever said this out loud or like publicly, but because you said walk us through from when I was expecting.
Yes.
I actually planned on having an abortion as such, because I was young.
How old were you?
I was 19. I was 19 when I got pregnant with my oldest. And I had just finished school, moved to England to become a model, and, you know, met a man, fell in love, and everything went so quickly. And I ended up pregnant, you know. Instead of becoming the next Naomi Campbell, I became God knows what, you know. So my first thought was to have an abortion. But then I just had this revelation one night that I couldn't, you know, that I have to give birth to this child. So I did. And I had just became 20 when I gave birth to my first son. I don't know, like a lot of people might think that, yeah, you are young, you're supposed to be alone, or like that like, since I broke up with the father as well when I found out that I was pregnant. I know that a lot of people think when you say that you were not together with the father, they think that, oh, you must have been alone, and, you know, how did you survive? How did you make it? But I had all of my friends, you know. Imagine we are in our late teenagers, you know. I moved back to the city where I'm raised, Örebro, and gave birth to my son there. So I didn't have like my family, like my mother, my siblings, they were living in Stockholm. But I had all of my childhood friends there. And like giving birth was a party. It was the after party, you know. I had some of my friends that heard that I was in labor, so they came like straight from the club. And Örebro is such a tiny space, you know, it's super tiny. So they literally like walked from the club 15 minutes and they were at, you know, the hospital. And others came with me to the hospital. So I had like, I think like 5 or 7 or something friends in the hospital room with me. And since I was so young, the nurses, they were super, super nice. They allowed me to have all of my girlfriends in the room with me. They were playing music. My son literally came out to 50 cents in the club. You know, I don't know how old you guys that are watching are, but like, yeah, to like in the club.
It was
that's
a different time.
Different time, different era. So, you know, I'm there giving birth and it's like 50 cents. Find me in the club, you know, and he's like, boom, that's when he comes. And it was nice. But, you know.
So it was a nice moment.
It was a nice moment. Very nice moment. Like, I wish for every woman to be surrounded with that type of love when you are giving birth. You know, my two youngest, I was with one of my closest friends that I've been friends with since I was like 5 or 6, and my husband. Those were nice too. Those, you know, deliveries,
those experiences,
the labor, they were also very, very nice. But that first one was special, you know, being surrounded with all of your friends. And, you know, we were having a party, you know. I was high on the gas, you know, and they were high on something else. But we had fun. Okay. We had fun. But when it was time to go home, since I was a new mom, I wanted to, because I was young as well, very childish in a way. And I was like, oh, it's going to be so embarrassing if he poops in the cab going home, you know. So I was like, let me change his diaper before we go. And when I opened the diaper, the only thing that I saw, because I thought that he had just poo when I was opening the diaper, but there was no poo, there was just blood, you know. It was as if he had pooed blood. And I just remember like thinking, this is not how it should be, you know. I have younger siblings who are a lot more younger than me, and I have been through every step of my mother's pregnancy and delivery and everything with them. So I know how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, the big sister syndrome.
Yeah. So I was like, there is something strange, you know. So I called the doctors and the nurses, and they came rushing in, and they rushed him out and rushed him in a helicopter to go to Uppsala. A university hospital. I think it's like 2 or 3 hours away from where we were living. And he had like, can't even remember now, but he had like 5 or something surgeries before being 6 months old, you know. And we lived at the hospital for 6 months. First in Uppsala, and then later they transferred us back to Örebro. And we would be allowed to go home during the daytime, and then we would have to come back and sleep at the hospital. And we did that for like 6 months. All along, I have my friends. Even when we were stationed in Uppsala, my friends would commute to Uppsala, and they would take turns. Like, okay, this day you go, next day you go. So I was never alone, never alone.
So you had my support.
I had so much support, so much
from your friends.
Yeah.
So the first symptoms was the blood in the stool.
Yeah.
And then...
Is that how it's called, stool?
Yeah, like the poo. Yeah, it's called stool. Yeah. So then you realized, was there anything else that you could see, any physical? Nothing. So it was just
nothing. Everything was normal. Like, we stayed at the hospital because I had an infection after giving birth. He was fine. You know, there was nothing to indicate anything with him. But then, there was
everything just followed after that.
In 2 seconds, just like this. And I didn't understand anything. The doctors tried to shield me. Once again, I was so young. And this is that time. Now, when I gave birth to my first son, it was a little bit taboo because I was so young. And it was not so common as it might be now. So
to have a child that young?
To have a child that young, to have a child without a partner, you know. I did everything by myself. So a lot of people would either trash me or try to shield me from things. But I used to say that I lived like maybe 20 lives in one life, you know. So I have already gone through a lot of things, and I can read the room. So both... it's both good and bad, the fact that I can always read a room.
Yeah.
Even before somebody says something, somebody even noticed that I'm in the room, I have already read the room and understood what's happening.
Yeah.
So that was the same thing going to Uppsala with the doctors. They were terrified of telling a young girl who came in with her baby, first child, that they didn't think that he was going to make it. They didn't think that he would, see through the day. And also my hearing is a little bit too good as well, so I could hear them talk in the hallway because the door wasn't like 100% shut. It's small, tiny,
Yeah.
and I could hear them speak and like, okay, so how are we going to tell her this, And I'm hearing everything, as I say, my hearing is too good. So I was just like, and I've always been a firm believer of God.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever shenanigans I've been on or whatever, I strongly believe in God, and I believe that I am protected. I believe that that there is
That you're favored.
I'm highly favored.
Yeah.
Even in my darkest hours, I'm favored.
Yeah.
So I was like, when the doctors came, and mind you, I'm from the suburb or the ghetto or whatever you want to call it. I was young, very rude sometimes. They just came in and they were like with their heads like this, thinking like, how are we gonna tell this?
Yeah.
They just come. I'm like, whatever you guys are saying, you can keep it, because my God has already said that this child is going to live, so you guys are not God. And they were like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah. And that's it. And he lived.
Yeah.
He lived, and he became a test person. I don't know what the name of his sickness is in English, but in Swedish it's tarmvred.
Yeah, it was the ileus. That was the first physical.
The first,
the first. So he was born with his intestines basically were not all the way. They had
to like twisted somehow.
Twisted. Yeah, it's an ileus.
And they had to cut, and like imagine he's a baby, he's a newborn, so he is super tiny already, and they had to cut. I can't remember how many centimeters, but he basically had nothing left, so that's why they thought that he's not gonna survive. And statistically he shouldn't have. But as I said, I'm favored. So
he was favored.
He was favored. He's my child. He's gonna be favored. So,
so are you in grief? Are you like crying, or are you just like soldiering it on? Like I
at
got
that
this.
moment, I think that at that moment,
did you feel numb? Like you didn't know what was happening and just?
No, I felt like, and I think that most or anyone who has ever been like responsible of someone, whether it's your own child that you have given birth to, or it's like the fur animal, or what's it, fur baby, that's what you call it, sorry. Or like fur baby, or like anyone that has ever been like in charge of somebody else's life will understand. The type of, you just go into a survival mode. There's no time to cry. There's no time to feel. There's no time for anything. You just have to wake up, get up. I basically didn't sleep a lot, but like you will pass out because you're so tired, you know. But no, I didn't cry. At that point, I didn't cry. I think that my tears came much later. When I knew that he was like okay, and that's when I started grieving, because there's this picture and some type of illusion, and I guess maybe that is society's way of brainwashing women into having children, because if we knew how difficult and like how traumatizing it actually is, I don't think a lot of women would go through it.
But some women say they still do it despite of what.
Because you forget.
Yeah. Fast forward, your son gets older. When does he get diagnosed, and what is he diagnosed with? So
I used to joke and say that my oldest has a cocktail.
Of diagnosis.
Yeah. He has a cocktail of diagnosis. He has a cocktail of medicines as well.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do like about Sweden and like some of the Swedish healthcare system and school system is that, because in our communities, these type of things aren't so common. You don't speak about
in our African communities.
Exactly. You don't speak, not even just the African community. I would say in like immigrant communities. You know, you don't speak about these things. And being the first of everything, both good and bad, one could see on my son, my oldest, that there was something different with him. You could see that when he was in childcare. And he was a late bloomer with everything, but that also has to do with the fact that he was sick for 6 months of his first time in life, you know. So the doctors didn't know, is this because of his first illness or is this something else? But later on, and I don't know the political correct terms to say it now because everything changes, but the kindergarten teachers, or like I'm raised to say fröknar, and I think that is a word of endearment. But so his fröknar, his
caretakers at the kindergarten.
At kindergarten. They were the ones that said to me, actually, we think that you should have him looked up, because we can see that there are some things that, you know, he's not developing the way that other children are developing and the way that he should be developed. And me being raised in Sweden, I wasn't, these things were familiar, but it's not something that I have ever discussed. It's not something that, you know, people around me were discussing, or I'm the first one amongst my friends to have children, so I didn't have anyone to compare with. So I was like, yeah, okay, if you say so, let's go. But also, you know, the gut feeling was saying that, you have to.
Something is wrong.
Something is wrong.
Your intuition as a mother.
So I was like, let's do it. And he was 4 when he was diagnosed with ADHD, autism. And once again, I don't know the political correct terms to say these things, because as we evolve as human, the terms change because we gain knowledge, but
the intellectual disability.
Yes. So he was diagnosed with that as well, and they were also looking into is it compulsive disorder, like tvångssyndrom? So those were like the first cocktails. Those are the cocktails that he grew up with, you know. But as he grows up, he also has other diagnoses like epilepsy.
The more medical.
Exactly.
That require medical assistance or medication.
And I think that for me, and this sounds like
he gets this cocktail of diagnosis, and you seem to kind of understand, but you don't have that much awareness. How do you accept?
You don't. And I was just about to say, you know, that's actually when the tears came, you know, and you know, tears, they are magical in a way, because it's good. It releases stress, and you're a nurse, you know this better than me, but they are also horrible in the sense that when you cry one tear, you're going to cry all the tears for everything that you've been through. And you're just going to sit there and cry and be like,
bottling in,
you know? So everything that I had been bottling up, you know, kept inside, and, you know, I'm this strong Black woman, you know.
That title.
You know? Everything just crumbled, you know. It was as if somebody just swept the rug off my feet, and I was just fumbling for something steady to stand on or hold on to, or, you know, to just put the pieces together, because I was like, God, this strongest soldier, you know, like,
it's falling.
Take me off of this damn list, because it's too much. You know, I was the first one to have a child. Add to it that child also became sick, you know. I am not married. The father is not in the picture, and then you have, fast forward a few years only, he gets all of this diagnosis. Also, the first one in our community to, it was just too much.
Yeah.
It was just too much. And I don't think that I have ever, the only time that I have cried that much was when my father was killed. And it's two different sorrows and griefs, but it is, it in some ways it felt the same, because you can see. And even now, 2026, my son, he turns 21 this year. But even till this day, society is not, welcoming for kids with special needs or people with special needs. And there's still, 2026, so much stigma.
Yeah.
Not only in our communities. I always used to think that, oh no, it's only our community, but no, it's every community.
Yeah.
Ours is just deeper, but ours is also based on, and I'm going to get so much hate for this, but it's also based on ignorance.
Yeah.
And not wanting to accept those things and wanting to demonize people with special needs, and to go through all of those things and have to, find ways to describe it,
to explain to others.
How do I explain to you something that I have not accepted myself? Or that I don't know about myself. So, and one thing, I also have ADHD, and with the process of my oldest son going through all of those things, I started reflecting on myself, but I wasn't fully there because I'm still headlocked on him, but I became somewhat of a mini expert on all of these diagnoses, because how do I care for someone that I cannot understand?
And I think that's the key, because you talked about ignorance. To combat ignorance, you have to get some type of knowledge and to get awareness. And that makes you a better caregiver and also a protector for your child against the society that is trying to stigmatize him and trying to find a reason or maybe give you blame for his diagnosis. And I think that is where we need to start, because when I asked you about acceptance, I'm not just talking about acceptance that you have agreed, oh, he has this, but just agreeing to get diagnosed, to get those assessments that led to the diagnosis is where you have the acceptance.
Yeah.
Because I know very many mothers that refuse to get this diagnosis done or these assessments done, and they just fight the system, the healthcare system and the school system, which affects other children.
And their child in particular. But I also actually understand those mothers,
Explain.
Because it's like, how do I explain it? It's like, I don't know how to explain this, but it's, when you have something, not even on a piece of paper, but when you have put something out there, if I say, you are my sister, I have to act according to you being my sister. If I say that I have a child with special needs, I have to do the things that are required of me as a mother to a child with special needs. And I have to accept the fact that this child might never go to school, graduate, have friends. I might not be able to have the conversations that society tells us that you are supposed to be able to have with your child at a certain age or whatever. We might never be able to have a night where everything is happy-go-lucky, everyone is,
But would it help to refuse to accept? Will that help?
Denial.
But it doesn't help the child.
It doesn't help, and it's not. And it's not about helping the child. It's about living in denial, and it's about.
But then this leads to people hiding their children, living in kind of, thinking that you're protecting your child, but you're really not, because now your child developed other diseases that needed medical assistance.
I agree.
So if you had denied him the care, then that's actually child abuse.
In one way, I agree with you 100%. But also I know how sometimes the mind and the heart is, is in conflict with each other. And as I say, there is a lot of grief. I grieve the fact that my son has never had a birthday party where he has had friends. And we are told that when your child has a birthday, you're supposed to have friends over, not so. You're supposed to cut a cake and My friend has never had a sleepover. He has never had people sleep over. I have never been able to leave him for 1 minute
unsupervised.
You know?
But then he has siblings. Isn't that enough? I want to say.
Okay, so
you want him to have school friends. You want him to.
Is that not what we are programmed to?
Well, it is in a sense, but if he goes to the school system, to the assisted schools that we have here in this country, you could ask some of those kids, because I'm sure he probably had friends there.
No. And this is why I say that
because he couldn't connect, but you kind of just bring them.
And this is something that is so complicated. It is so contradicting in a lot of ways as well, because yes, you want your children to have all of those things, but you also know that they are not going to get those things. And I think that to some parents, why they refuse to have their children diagnosed could be these things, because then you have to accept to yourself that he or she or they might never be able to do certain things, and with that comes a sorrow, another grief. So you asked me before about crying. Before I didn't cry. Now I cry all the time.
Yeah.
Like I have crying sessions where I'm like, okay.
But actually you're older and you're more in tune with your feelings.
Now.
You are. So now you can let yourself cry without it being a big deal or a sign of weakness.
But then, no. And mind you, I have another child who also has a ADHD diagnosis. And because I went through all of the things that I went through with the first one, that one didn't hit as hard. But I still grieve. I still cry over that child as well, because I know that there are so many things that he in his brilliance wants to do that he will not be able to do. So, and if I could protect them, and unfortunately also, the system, do you know that when you have an ADHD diagnosis, just ADHD, which is so common that it's ridiculous, there are certain things that you cannot do or become.
Okay, like what?
For example, and I don't like the police, but you can't become a police officer if you have ADHD. There are certain restrictions to it.
Okay. So he can't become a police officer, but he can do something else.
But what if his dream, have this on camera, I do not support the police, I do not condone but what if my child wants to become a police officer? What if that is his dream?
Well, he could do other policing work.
No, but why? Just because he has a...
You mean he can't even go to the actual police?
No, there are... And as I said, I don't like this. This was a bad example because I wouldn't allow it anyway. But there are
other professions that... Yeah.
Like, let's say that he wants to get a driver's license. It would become a hassle for him to get a driver's license.
Because of the compulsive.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a lot of things as well. If you go and get that diagnosis, that you are stopped from being able to do, you're restricted. So to me, I understand parents who don't have their kids diagnosed, but you have to. I think that the discussion is like.
It's broad.
It's different, because you can also, for example, as I said, when my oldest had his diagnosis, I started understanding that, oh, wait, I have ADHD, but I wasn't diagnosed.
Are you diagnosed now?
I am diagnosed now, but that is just in solidarity of my children. But for me, I wouldn't need the diagnosis. As far as I know that, okay, this and this is what I need, or like, I have a lot of friends that like, we are like, you have ADHD. And they are like, yeah, but I'm old. Why would I go and get it now? Like my youngest, he has ADHD, but it is so unnecessary. In one way, it's so unnecessary for him to have that diagnosis.
Right.
He's not on medication.
Because of this restrictions.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not on medication. He's not on, certain things that maybe some people with ADHD would need. So it's individual.
But I feel like maybe the different, a parent denying their child the diagnosis of ADHD is probably not as severe as a parent denying their child to get a diagnosis for autism on a higher spectrum, of course, or maybe something like Down syndrome, because we in the healthcare system have seen that. I mean, a child with Down syndrome, you can see it on you can see it on them, and there's no doubt. But there's been situations where parents have actually refused, which makes it so difficult in schools, and it makes it difficult for the police as well, because sometimes the child becomes aggressive because of 100%. Their situation, and that makes it like a spiral of
But you said something very important: spectrum. All of these diagnoses are like a thread. And you can be at this end of the thread, or at this end of the thread, or here in the middle, or sometimes you even move across them. And this is where I think that, like, as a parent, you need to think about, okay, so where on the spectrum is my child? Is it just like, for example, for me, very unnecessary for me to have the diagnosis, to be honest, but I did it.
Because you're functioning.
I'm functioning. So it's unnecessary. So then, maybe not. But if it is that your child actually needs, medicine or some type of treatment, is it called rehabilitation? Rehabilitation, yeah. Then you have to go and get a diagnosis, because otherwise you're not going to be able to get these type of things,
and also the help that you might need, assistance or anything like that.
Let's not get political. Well,
all right, so now your child is 4 years old. How did that limit you with your priorities, your work situation, relationships? How did it affect you as a mother, a new mother?
Yeah, so thank God I actually met, I would say, the love of my life after having my first child. And
how soon after?
I think that Nas was like 2 or 3 years or something. And he's the one that my oldest even considers to be his father as well. So, and I wouldn't say that it limited me like in love life or such, because I met an amazing man that accepted me being a single mother, which is also a stigma in our communities. He's like, hey, that hoe, are you sure that you want to marry her? As I said, not married, I have a child. The child is sick. Not a lot of men would, unfortunately, in our community and way back then. Now times are different, but then, no.
We're talking as though we're like 100 years old.
I am.
Girl, no, you're not.
No.
We're in our fabulous 40s.
We are.
Yeah.
But time changes quickly.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I love about time as well. Time changes quickly, and that is good, because, it was hard. I couldn't get a job. Let me correct myself. I couldn't keep a job. I could get jobs, but I couldn't keep them, because constantly I would have to leave work to take care of my son. As I said, he had so many diagnoses that, imagine just having one diagnosis and all of the doctor's appointment that you will need to go through for that. And then add to all of the 100 diagnoses that he has. I was they should just charge me rent, because we were constantly at the doctors, If it's not this doctor, it's that doctor. If it's not that, something. How do you keep a job? Whatever job I have had, I've been good at it.
Yeah.
So each and every employer that I've had have been like, we want to make this work, but it's not working, because half of the time you're not here.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I wouldn't even have hired me, to be honest, you know.
But did you tell them prior to you getting hired that I have a son with special needs and I might have
In the
to?
beginning, I did, because I believe in transparency. And as I said, I was the first. So I also felt the obligation to, you know, to show that it's possible, or, you know, whatever. It was a strong black woman syndrome.
That title.
So in the beginning, I did.
Yeah.
But as I said, you cannot hide it, because my phone would ring constantly. And back then, you were coming into like the help that you can get, the assistance. We didn't get that because I live in an immigrant area. When I applied for support for my son, the first thing that the social worker said when she came to my house was that, yeah, so we are not going to give you any help, just so that you know, because all of you guys are just cheaters. And here I am. I have doctors, specialist doctors. What's the name?
Recommendation of
Exactly. I have a shrink. I have this. I have. Think of one type of doctor. I have their approved written letters, all the paperwork to prove that my son needs help.
Yeah.
Nope, didn't get it. So we spent.
And it's just because of
Location, skin color, name, whatever, you know, and they said it out loud. That was my first experience with, here it's called LSS, you know, the social welfare that takes care of kids with special needs. That's what they told me. And I was fighting for so many years to get help. I didn't get any help.
How many years did it take?
It took until he was, I think, was he 16 maybe? Until we got help. And that is only because, like, shit hit the ceiling. Everything went wrong. You know, we have gone through so much trials and tribulations and pain and, you know, so much.
So from the time that he's 4, he gets diagnosed and you don't get any assistance until he's 16.
No assistance, no help.
Just because one person made a decision that...
It continued. It started with one person, but it continued, you know. We managed to get, can't remember exactly how old he was, but we managed to get, what is that? It's called korttidsboende. It's like a facility where...
it's an assisted living, but for short time, for a short period of time.
So he would go there like a few days per month. But that doesn't really help. And you were mentioning also he has 2 younger siblings. You know, they also need their time, and you know, and they are also affected, and they have been affected by their older brother having all of this diagnosis, and you know, so. And how has it affected them? How has it affected them? Have they been verbal? Have they told you, "Mommy, this and that"? Yes. I take pride in the fact that I'm very close and open with all of my children. And yes, they have. And I also want to protect my oldest integrity as well as the youngest integrity as well. But they have suffered a lot. And they are vocal about it, you know. And it came to a point where, like, we couldn't keep him at home because, you know, it just didn't work.
You mentioned that, you know, there was a lot of tantrums on a completely other level. You didn't know.
I have called the police on myself. I have called the police on him. I've had neighbors call the police on us, both neighbors that I didn't ask for them to call, like they just called, you know, and neighbors that I have had good relationship with and said, can you please call the police? You know, I've had school call the police. I have, and social welfare, you know, I've had police call the police on the government, on LSS.
Oh, okay. So making like a complaint.
You know.
Some type of, And this is because you...
I've had LSS make complaint on themselves. You know, yeah.
Yeah.
It's...
And
It's
this is because of his nature, his diagnosis.
His diagnosis.
Autism, and, the tantrums that come with it. Or
the
aggression.
tantrums, the aggression, just everything,
and that is part of the disease. Or
it is, unfortunately, it is.
Complication.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. And
so when do you make a decision, the tough decision, to hand him over to assisted living, for him to basically move away from home?
Yeah. And I'm bad with maths, but he moved like, I think it was 2019. Yeah, end of 2019. So what is he then? He's born 20. Yeah, he was like 14. Yeah. Out of respect for other people, I'm not going to go into details of like why, but all that I can say is that shit really spiraled, and so many things happened that was not okay. And
you made the tough decision.
I had to, I'm also responsible for 2 other beautiful children, and I have to function for them as well as I have to function for myself, but also for the child who's putting us in a lot of, headaches and traumas. So,
and this is why these facilities are available.
Yes.
And I feel like you're kind of trying to like feel as though you shouldn't have.
I shouldn't have, because
but you should.
As
Why
a mother,
shouldn't
you should take care of your children, but also at the same time, I highly recommend any mother, any family that are going through these type of things to, and it's difficult because not a lot of people are open about it, and sometimes I wish that I was more open about it as well, but talk to someone that has gone through it, because they are going to tell you that, and I know this, I don't feel shame as such over it. I don't feel guilt as such over it. But I do feel guilty as a mother giving away my child.
And how is that not connected?
And this is what I'm saying. Everything about these things, it is so contradicting. Because it is connected, but it's also not connected.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, it's okay to have the guilt.
Yeah.
But then, because I don't think I've heard any mother that hasn't had any type of guilt.
Oh, I've seen those mothers, and I'm like, who you? Okay, but
no, I mean, everybody has some type of guilt over, maybe just the first time leaving them at the daycare.
Oh, that one I didn't have no guilt. I was eager. Yeah, but I hear you.
But there's all types of guilt.
Yeah.
I didn't breastfeed enough. I didn't, spend enough time with my child. I slept in, I couldn't. I wanted to sleep in.
And who are these mothers? This is what I mean. There is so much pressure on women and on mothers, and there is an illusion of how a perfect mother is supposed to be, how a perfect mother-child relationship is supposed to be, how we are supposed to nurture and teach our children that when you get a child with special needs, there's nothing.
It's double the pressure.
Because everything that you were taught or that you dreamt of, or everything that you fantasized or thought that would happen, or nothing of those things are going to happen. Yeah. So you are left completely alone without a game plan. Because we are taught, okay, you give birth, you go home with your baby, lovey-dovey, whatever, and then you come home and with your healthy baby, add to it with healthy baby. You come home, you're supposed to be home for a year and take care of that child.
And that is in Sweden for a year.
In Sweden, yeah, but okay, for some time at least. You're supposed to take care of that child. You're supposed to have a whole village.
Yeah.
And yes, I've had a whole village, but I've also been very much alone.
Yeah.
Because nobody has been able to understand when I say, but I didn't sleep because he was crying all night. Oh, but just give him the titty or just give him some milk. This child has night terror. We do not sleep in this household, or but just come out. who's going to watch my child? He cannot be with anybody else. There's going to be a chaos for him and then for me when I come home. So I might go out and have my little fun for an hour or two, but then when I come home, it's, triple the horror. And I cannot leave him because he needs his medicine. So you are completely alone in a way as well. And as a mother, you are always told that, but can you not take care of your child? How can you not take care of your child? It's not that easy.
Yeah.
And then when you come to the decision that, okay, I accept it. I am defeated. I cannot longer care for this child. And you say, here, you hand him over to the government or whatever you want to call it. And you're just like, I'm done. There is another stigma. There is another sorrow. There is another, feeling of defeat. Because you are told as a woman that you are supposed to nurture and care for your child until they grow up and they graduate from school, university, they have a job, they find a partner,
They're not following their curriculum.
They are not following anything.
No.
And where does that leave us, the mothers? I don't hear, and I don't think that that his father has ever been told any of these things in that way.
And do you feel like people have told you this?
To my face, behind my face?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So much. Yeah.
And I think as a young mom, did you hear anything specifically about, maybe you getting the blame being as young as you were?
Yes, I've heard that, people have used me as an example of why you should not, Yeah, exactly. Because look, this is what happens, This is what happens when you are young and, they call it, they say that you are fast or whatever. Like, this is what happens.
Really
so look at Aisha.
Yeah.
Look at her. And now her son is sick. It's because of what she did. La, 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 la. People even go so far to put the blame on my ancestors.
Okay.
It's because this and this or this and that. And I'm like, do you know what? Keep at it. At the end of the day, I know that, and as I say, I am a believer, and a believer, like, I follow the Islamic religion, and I believe that there is already a place made in heaven for me because I have children with special needs and because I have done everything in my power to care for them. So let people have it. Let people talk. Let people, want to put shame or whatever.
Guilt. Blame.
And I know that because there's also, like, we've spoken a lot about, the negative sides or, the traumas and these things. But there's also a lot of joy. There's also a lot of love because people with special needs, they love a million times harder and more.
So what are those moments that you've had with your son?
Oh, there are so many. Like everything from just the way that they will look at you, or that you cannot never do anything wrong in their eyes, or I can literally give him a glass of his favorite juice and I am the best mom in the entire world. It's like, oh, he will sing my praises, and I'm like, okay, continue, or just the hugs, they are more genuine in a way, the conversations.
What I've seen, because I took care of a special needs child when I was younger. I was actually around 19, 20, and he was just 2 years younger than I was. So we really clicked a lot. And I think what he, just like you talked about the love, the unconditional love, he was, I think what I realized, so I used to go with him to the schools, and their reaction to music was so genuine. They were so out of their normal character when we played their favorite music.
Yeah.
That made me so happy. And when he passed on, unfortunately, and we played his favorite music at his funeral, and it was so beautiful because it was like he was right there, because the way that, he lit up the room when you like came in, and when we played the songs. And I think I kind of can relate to that, just because of my experience with that boy. Then obviously we would have been older now, but he would have been a man now. But that boy then, it was just amazing.
It is, and it's of course, there are moments when I feel like I should have just had that bloody abortion, But then also there are moments when I'm like, no, but this has given me such a humbling experience in life, I think that, misunderstand me correctly, but I think that I needed to go through this, because otherwise I would have been a ridiculous human being. I would have been stuck up. I would have been obnoxious. I would have been the most rudest, uncontrollable human being ever.
So you feel like your son saved you?
From so many things.
From yourself?
From myself. From myself 100%.
God bless you.
And from society, I go through life, as I said, humble. I go through life not judging anyone or anything, and knowing and thinking that, do you know what? I don't know what you go home to. So I'm going to be a little bit kinder to you, even if you are being, rude to me or whatever. I will give you the benefit of doubt, because I don't know what you go home to.
Yeah.
I don't know what you have done.
That is so true, because when I first learned that you had a son with special needs, I actually saw it on your Instagram. And knowing you, the little bit that I know of you, I knew you like, this party princess. And I was like, and I really thought that you were like this party princess and this gorgeous human being that, just shows up fully, just that kind of girl. And when I saw you with your son, it was so humbling. It was like, you actually broke the code. You told us about you and your son. It's not just, the picture perfect Instagram pictures. And I felt it. And I remember the next conversation that I had with you was, how is your son and what happened? I just wanted to know a bit more about that, and then have this conversation. This was maybe 2-3 years ago when you put up a picture of him, or a little video of you and him interacting. And it makes me sad that people really feel that they cannot quote unquote expose their children's diagnosis, or you don't have to do it on social media, but just for me it's like just accepting or talking about it, and not be so isolated and suffer in silence, because it kind of,
I know.
Really?
And I know that the perception of me is that I am this party girl, or like I'll go to fabulous places and I dress like whatever. And that's a part of me.
It can be both.
Yeah,
that's you don't have to be.
And I think that on my socials, you mentioned it as well, that I'm also a politician. And before going into politics, and before the wave of Black Lives Matter, I was more open about my children and their diagnosis, my own diagnosis, and life as a mother to children with special needs. But
then that became a target.
Yeah. And I don't care if you attack me. I honestly do not care. But when you start coming for people that I care about, and even more so children, whether it's my child, somebody else's child, or whatever, then I gotta, I gotta find ways to protect not me, but them. So before I used to talk, I even blogged on on Sweden's biggest platform for bloggers for mothers with children. And I used to blog there, and I used to blog about, being a mother, the work that I do and how I do it with kids with special needs, and, the parts of their lives as well. Because as I said, I respect their integrity. So I would never put out something that they are not okay with. But as I said, with BLM and my face being known to the public in that way, I've always worked behind the scenes, so people normally wouldn't recognize me in a crowd. But with BLM, people started recognizing me in a crowd, and after that, becoming political active as well. It wasn't safe.
Yeah.
Because people started putting out the facility where he lived. They put it out on the internet, oh, look at her child, he's this, la la la, this is where he lives. They wrote the exact address. Mind you, and I always say that in some ways I'm unfair to my children, because the two that I have in front of me, I'm not so worried about them. But the one that is far from me, I'm worried because I cannot see that you are okay.
Yeah.
The other two, I go home and I see them there, I cook their meal. I know that they have eaten. I know that they are safe. But with my oldest, he is not with me. So I don't know. If someone would come to our doorstep, I will instantly know, and I can do what I can to protect the youngest one, right? With the oldest one, he's out of reach. How do I do that?
Yeah.
And even though he had wonderful caretakers and stuff like that, how do I know that they are willing to sacrifice their life for his life? Can I ask that of them?
Yeah.
So with that, I just had to become more closed up. Unfortunately, I stopped talking about my kids and their disabilities, or my own, because that was, in one way, the only thing that people who were ignorant, or people that were racist, or people that had anything to say against me could use.
Oh, yeah. Which is unfortunate.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but tell us, what type of work do you do for children with disabilities? Is it anything that you can share?
Actually, I don't do any work with.
No, I thought you said you do something.
No, I don't do anything like that, other than try to raise awareness and try to help. As I said, I was the first one in a lot of communities that I belong to. I was the first one to have a child, and then the first one to have a child that actually got diagnosed. So I've actually just been the advocate,
yeah.
And
you being here is spreading awareness.
So and this is what I try to do, to tell mothers and tell families that it's okay to have children with special needs. It's okay to feel everything that you feel, and it's natural. And also, as I said, I became an expert, because I had to, because I didn't have anyone to turn to. So I become an expert, and now I know how to push the button to make sure that you get the help that you need. And, so I try to free time to,
help out,
to comfort, to help, to accompany to the hospital or whatever, to anyone that feels like, okay, I don't have anyone, or I don't want to talk to my family about this, or whatever. But also just try to create different spaces for these children with special needs. My big dream is to, because I'm Gambian, and to my knowledge, there is no school in Gambia for kids with special needs. And as you mentioned, even here in Sweden before, you would lock kids away that has special needs. In Gambia, they do the same, unfortunately, or kids and people are just roaming the streets, and there is no one to really look after them or, to guide them in life. So that is my big dream. My older sister is a teacher. I started studying to become a teacher, but then you see this ADHD. Yeah, but one day I'm going to complete it.
Yeah. You can do a lot of other types of work, like support, building up a school.
Yeah, so that's my dream. I want to start a school for kids with special needs in my home country.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, I'm just trying to, make mothers and families feel less alone, feel less judged, and it's okay.
Yeah. What would you tell a young mother with a special needs child? What type of advice would you tell them, or would you give them?
It's okay to scream, it's okay to cry, it's okay to not cry, it's okay to take time out, it's okay to feel that you cannot do this, but most of all, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
And ask for help.
Yes and no. I think that I would like to put the responsibility on society and people around, because you can see that this person needs help.
But for society to help, you actually need to ask for the help or to apply for the help.
That you need to
do.
In
this society, at least, in the Swedish
and that setting. Is also, and I also have my opinions about that, because you can see, as I said, when you go to the hospital in Sweden is such a good structure in that way that when you give birth, there are certain controls that you do, and they can see that
even before some diagnosis,
they can see certain things. So offer the help. I honestly, yes, of course, it's good to be able to ask for help, but there are certain things that you can see, even with ADHD. There are certain things that you can see. I have spoken to teachers, like my teachers, and they were like, yeah, we could see that there was something, so why didn't you say anything? Because we have to stop thinking that everybody knows everything. And I don't mean this to say that people are stupid or something, but if we just live amongst each other thinking that you do not know this, in a good way, from a good place. So let me tell you this, how can I apply for help if I don't know that there is help to get?
So basically,
if you have a knowledge about something, share it. If you see that somebody needs help, I think, to me, I honestly think that this is like seeing a old auntie carrying a lot of bags. You can see that she needs help, right? You see her. Yeah. You see her with her bags like.
But it's really hard because
because there's a stigma.
No,
it's
not
hard
only
because
that,
there's a stigma.
But sometimes you don't want to overstep because I know people that.
Why are you overstepping?
Because sometimes that person has not even accepted the fact that their child might need help.
I agree, but maybe you asking will make them feel like, not everybody is going to judge me for it.
Well, for me personally, people confide in me because, of this platform and what they know me to be as a person, as a nurse, as a healthcare provider. But not everyone is going to feel comfortable telling me or telling anybody else about their child's diagnosis. It's really hard. And it all depends on what type of diagnosis. There's so many. I feel like autism and ADHD are kind of on a lighter, depending on how severe the autism is. But I've had, people like fighting the system, refusing, though the teachers are telling, and parents are very much often the ones that will say no. I want my child to go in a quote unquote normal school. I don't want them to go to to the special needs schools. I want them, and which puts them in a lot of danger for other kids to bully these kids. And I feel like acceptance, awareness goes a long way. Until that happens, in a family, it's really hard to overstep or to say anything, because before that happens, you can really.
I agree, but I do not agree, because I think that it is not the families are never going to accept it as long as society has not accepted it. You know, if you think of the family of like just one piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
whereas society and so many other things around it also adds up to it. You know, and even if I might accept it, society hasn't accepted it. That's why a lot of families don't accept it, because then that means that you are basically saying that your child is different. That, as I said, that comes with a lot of, you know, other things, a lot of difficulties. So I think that it will be easier for families to accept and easier for families to have their children diagnosed if society wasn't so judgmental.
Yeah.
You know, and for society to be less judgmental, we have to make safer spaces, you know. And yeah, it's going to be difficult to, and when I say like walk up to someone, of course I mean like in your proximity. You know, I would have loved for someone, some of my friends and family did, but like they could see that I was struggling. Like, can you offer to come, sit with the child so I can go and have a shower, you know, or offer to meal prep, you know, these small things, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't mean that you should, you know, walk up to a stranger on the street or something like that, but within your proximity.
I understand, but it even that is difficult at times. But I feel like, just like I said, the ADHD, autism is kind of, that is, and the intellectual disability is really, really hard, because I feel like sometimes it's easier when the child or the disability is visible.
Yes.
Like when someone is maybe sitting in a wheelchair, they cannot walk, then, you know, at some point, maybe parents actually even get pity, which allows them to accept or to, for society to accept. So it's a little bit different.
Yes. I would love for you to have a panel discussion with with parents and people with different disabilities, you know, because exactly this thing is something that myself and a lot of parents to kids with special needs talk about in our close community, that sometimes we feel how to say, not bullied, but like sometimes we feel like things are harder for us because our children are not in a wheelchair, or because you cannot instantly see on them that they have disabilities, you know, and that makes life so much harder for us and for them. You know, that's why sometimes I will be honest, sometimes I get irritated myself, but like, let's say that you are on a bus and there's a child jumping up and down, you are going to get irritated and be like, control your child. But how do you not know that this parent has not tried, or like that this child has a special need, that they cannot help it? But everyone, including me, and I have kids with special needs that has done that, I will judge. I would be like, I just want to sit in this goddamn bus and get to where I'm going.
In peace,
You know?
I understand that. And this
But had it been a child in a wheelchair, I would be like, oh, okay, it's okay.
And I understand you. And this is unfortunately why, you know, people are giving their children social media and phones very early so that they can be quiet. And this doesn't help a child that already has a disability, unfortunately. But Miss Jones, we're coming to the end of this interview, and as we mentioned, you're a politician, and we are getting close to the national elections in Sweden, 2026.
Don't ask me what I should.
No, I'm going to ask you. What is the most important topic this year? And I also want you to urge our viewers that you know to vote, obviously.
Yes,
but what
course.
is the main?
Let me just like put it out there. Everybody needs to go and vote, because like the past election and this election are the two elections that are the most crucial to every community. You know, it's not just the Black community, it's not the queer community, it's not the poor community, it's each and every community, you have to go and vote. Regardless of what you vote for, please do vote, and don't vote blank, vote something at least. That's the only power that you actually have in society. So with that
Put
said,
something there.
put something there,
But there's
preferably something on the left side rather than the right side. But yeah, we don't judge, but we judge. Yeah, no, but and this actually goes hand in hand with kids with special needs, because unfortunately we do know also that people with special needs, or like ADHD and autism and these type of diagnoses, are overly represented in crime and things like this, unfortunately. And I think that right now one of the most like pushing topics for the election is crime, and they also want to make it like gang-related crimes and things like this. And to me, I see a bunch of youths that are undiagnosed. That's what I see. So, and for me, and I might be biased, but for me, I see kids and kids with special needs and their rights and their engagement and, activities. I see that as the constant pressing matter that we should focus on. Which of the parties are going to make life better for kids and children and youths, and which of them also has a plan for how we are going to make life easier and better and more livable, and human for kids with special needs or people with special needs. And I think that everything is like, as I say, it's like a thread, You have the people on this end who are the most vulnerable in society, which are kids with special needs, and more so kids with special needs from immigrant societies, How do we focus on them? If we start from there and then go forward. So for me, myself, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at who, and I am
prioritizing the schools, perhaps.
Exactly, but that is, for me, that is all of it. I find it very difficult when people say like, oh, but this. No, everything goes together.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. You cannot just focus on like this stupid law that was just passed. You're putting kids in prison. Okay, but if we are putting kids in prison, that means that we have already failed.
We have failed them.
Can we go to the root, And what is the root? It is the schools. It is after school activities. It is making sure that they dare to dream, that they have someone that they can confide in those dreams, that they have someone that can guide them in achieving those dreams. It is to make sure that, okay, we are telling kids that they should educate themselves. Okay, but what happened then when you have educated yourself? Are you going to get a job?
Yeah.
Where are you going to live? If you get sick. So everything is connected.
Yeah.
Everything is connected. And if we start with those who, as I said, are unfortunately the most vulnerable people, which are kids with special needs and kids with special needs from immigrant communities. Let us start there and look at which of these parties are doing things, not just one thing, but are doing the things that needs to be done for them to have a better life. Then all of us are going to have a better life. So when you are voting, vote for that. Don't vote based on you yourself. And like, if I was to consider me, myself, just me, I might have voted for something different.
Yeah.
But we cannot be that selfish.
And when you say just you mean that you want maybe higher payment, you want more money in your pocket, so that
I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm saying so many things that I've never said out loud, but I'm an entrepreneur. Of course, I think about like, for me as an entrepreneur, I want lower taxes.
But that's not possible if we're going to think about the welfare system.
That might be good for me.
Yeah.
But that is not good for society.
Yeah.
And if it's not good for society, it's not going to be good for me in the end as well. Because if you cannot afford to buy my stuff, how am I going to make my money?
Yeah.
So I cannot be selfish and think about just me, myself, like individually. I have to think about me in the context of like being a part of a society.
That's a great point. So please tell everybody to go and vote.
Didn't I do that? Didn't I tell you guys to go and vote? Go and vote now. I think it has pre-voting open.
The polls open 26th?
No, I don't remember, but I know that they do close on the... No, I don't even know when they close, but I know that you have to vote.
You have to vote. I do believe that you can vote from late,
I think so,
late
like,
August,
Yeah.
26th, I do believe it is.
But
the
definitely
date.
go and vote, especially like the people that follows your platform as well, like
our vote
you
is
know,
important.
it's very important.
It's important.
It's very important. And I hate when people say, oh, but that doesn't matter. What? Yeah, actually it does.
It does.
It does. Each and every vote counts. So please do go and vote.
Yeah.
You cannot vote for me in this election because I'm not, I am politically active, but I'm not politically active in a party as of now. But maybe for the next election.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that as a point because I have a politician here.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for pointing that out, the importance of voting, because it affects us all and our children.
It does. It does. For the sake of my children, please vote.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for that message.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think that it will help somebody
Hopefully.
else.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much.